Ready to go. The mics are not working. Just mine.
Yours and Mitch, and I'm using this, and that works. Those out there work.
Hey, how are you? Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our joint public hearings regarding the City and School District's 2025-26 budgets and our Speak to Council session, as well as our public hearings. We are joined tonight by members of the Rochester City School District Board of Education. The meeting will come to order, and I ask the clerk to call the roll of the City Council and Board of Education.
Councilmember Gruber. Councilmember Lightfoot. He's excused. Councilmember Lupien. Yeah. Councilmember Martin. Here. Councilmember Monroe. Here. Councilmember Patterson. Here. Councilmember Smith.
I believe Councilmember Smith is either going to be late or on the way.
Okay, and for the school board, Camille Simmons.
President Simmons has a work obligation this evening, a contractual obligation, and will not be able to join us.
Excuse me.
Representing in her place as Vice President.
You didn't call my name.
I didn't?
No.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Vice President Harris.
Here.
President Melendez.
Here.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Malloy.
Present.
Commissioner Elliott has a conflict, right? Commissioner Griffin. Commissioner LeBron Harris. Commissioner Patterson. Commissioner Santiago is, okay, is that LeBron? Okay, on Zoom we have Commissioner Santiago and LeBron Harris. And the student representative, Hazel Roberts. Superintendent, Dr. Demario Strickland.
Present.
Thank you. Did I get everybody? Okay.
All right, so this evening I'd like to ask everyone to join us in a moment of silence. Certainly this month we've had a tragedy in our community that is very highly publicized of a young person, and we respectfully are looking and searching for that individual. We do hope to find the individual and return him to his family. And I ask everyone in the community to please join us in honor of Kai Jay in a moment of silence. Thank you. Vice President Harris, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? So tonight we are holding public hearings for pieces of legislation related to the 2025-26 budgets for the city and RCSD. We are going to take the items a little bit out of order just based on the fact that we have guests tonight from the Rochester City School District. So we'll be starting in the order with introductory number 237. But before we get there, staff is assisting participants in signing up for the correct hearing outside of chambers. So if there's a specific hearing that you would like to speak on, please see our staff directly outside of chambers in the hallway. The clerk will call the names of participants as they arrive. Participants will come up to the podium and have 3 minutes to comment. The hearings for each item will remain open until we have no speakers left for that item. I ask participants to be respectful and avoid the use of profanities. We will now give the members of RCSD We have already done introductions by way of, by way of our roll call, so we will just actually move to Clerk Washington.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: adoption of the budget estimates for school purposes for the 2025-26 fiscal year and appropriation of sums set forth therein. Introductory number 237. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard. Dr. Lisa Barr is from the Southwest District.
I need to push something? Is this on now? Okay. I don't know if this is even possible to amend it all, or even if it's desirable to amend it all, but it just seems to me that maybe if the school district, and I don't even know if this would be allowed, but would you be able to put aside some funds so that the pools could open earlier, even before school lets out? Because the rec centers are good, but I think when it's hot, the kids want to be outside, and there needs to be programming that I think begins before the end of the school year that is not happening now. And again, I don't know if there's anything you can do about it. The other thing that strikes me is, and this may not be appropriate either, but can the school board help the city out and retrofit some of the bridges over the river? I mean, if you can see it in the movie Finch, which if you don't have Apple TV, you probably aren't going to watch it, but you can look at the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, and I'm short, I'm 5 foot. So I think they're like 10 feet. What they did was they retrofitted, it goes up and over, and it's, it's just your normal chain link fence after that, but it goes up and over so that nobody could possibly, intentionally or otherwise, fall off the Golden Gate Bridge. So it would be expensive, and I don't know if Rochester's going to be able to afford it, and I don't know if it would even be appropriate for the school district to help out with that, but that's all I had.
Kevin Lockhart is from the town of Webster.
How long? How many minutes? Three minutes. Hi, it's good to talk to you all. I've been meaning to come down and talk to the Rochester School District Joint Commission with the city. Unfortunately, the conditions that are set by the school district don't allow me to come down and share my thoughts during the public hearing and during the public forum and so forth, as I would like to do. Our school district in the city is it's a grand injustice to the people, the taxpayers, the stakeholders of this city. When I look through the legislative directory in Monroe County, there's 59 pages of elected officers in Monroe County for 800,000 residents, and in the city, for the minority population, the 200,000 people who are considered minorities under the law in the city of Rochester, they only have half of the one page in the 59 pages of the Monroe County Directory. What this means is that they can't elect school district committees like we can in the towns that we live in. So you're handling way too much in your central office. We need to have elections the same way the towns and the villages do. Each region, there's three or four school districts in the RCSD, right? Is it northwest, southwest, east? They need to have their own school boards that are elected. They need to have their own superintendents. They need to have superintendents in their own school districts, because proportionally to population, the representation isn't there. I know that no one from Rochester was considered for the superintendent role when you were looking for the superintendent in the superintendent search. Somebody was sourced from, I believe it was Buffalo or Atlanta before that. So the school district is a huge injustice to these people. They should have the right to vote in school elections just like everybody else. They should have the ability to go and speak out against or in approval of, oftentimes, the school board in the city of Rochester without needing adversarial folks. The whole way that we do business in the city school district is a total sham. It's discredits these people, it discredits our democracy, it discredits Monroe County. We need a lot more of folks and taxpayers acting on the law to figure out what's going on, what's going so wrong in the RCSD so that we can get these school districts in the city of Rochester back on track. Thanks for listening.
Are there any other speakers that signed up for introductory number 237, which is the Rochester School District's budget?
Seeing no other speakers, that hearing is now adjourned. Budget, yes. Okay. Sir, state your name for the record.
Marcus, give me a second to let me get up my notes. Sorry, y'all, my allergies, that stuff is going crazy outside right now with the pollen. All right. Good evening. My name is Marcus C. Williams. I have a couple of concerns about the budget and the direction forward. I would like to see the actual budget, when it actually starts to get implemented, be open quarterly to the public. I'd like it to be published publicly, and I'd like every expenditure to be listed on that as it comes up, as it gets filed. There's been a lot of concern from the public about the way that the money is being used and the lack of transparency. This will go a long way to restoring the actual belief that the money is being stewarded in good faith, as it should be. I'm also concerned about the direction that some of the funding is going, but more so, it's about being able to see it, and I'd like it to be earmarked, all of the money that comes out to be earmarked, and it doesn't go into any extracurricular funds. It doesn't go into any funds at the end of the year into something else. It should all return back. Any of the money that comes from the city should return back to the city, okay? I don't believe that all of this money should be going into different piles that get used for something different eventually than what it was originally set for. And that's pretty much what I have on that. I'm asking for transparency with the budget because for years we've seen it where the money just gets spent and nobody knows where it is, nobody can account for it. The state comes in and the state's like, we don't know where the money went. The school board and the school district is like, we don't know where the money went. Well, the money went somewhere, and we as a community would like to know. We're not accusing anybody of misappropriating the funds or the money being used wrongly, but we do deserve, as it being taxpayers' funds, to be able to see where that money is going. That's all that I'm asking for. I hope that that sounds reasonable because it sounds reasonable to the majority of our community. And that's my ask for the budget. At least if we can't control where each part goes, at least let us see the line items and make sure that it's going places that we know that we can verify and that we as a community can follow up in the next year's budget to say, okay, well, did this work? And if not, maybe we should apply it here instead. Thank you.
All right, seeing no other speakers, going once, that hearing is now adjourned. Our colleagues at RCSD, you're welcome to stay as long as you want, but this is also the moment if you'd like to transition. Thanks.
Pursuant to law, a public hearing will now be had on the following matter. Adoption of the budget estimates for municipal purposes for the 2025-26 fiscal year. Appropriation of sums set forth therein and approving commercial refuse fees. Introductory number 236. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
Seeing no speakers, that hearing is now adjourned.
Pursuant to law, a public hearing will now be had on the following matter. Local improvement ordinance, street cleaning, street and sidewalk, snow removal, and hazardous sidewalk repair commencing July 1st, 2025, and expiring June 30th, 2026. Introductory number 240. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard. So, Dr. Lisa Bauer. It's 236. It's 236.
Is this on? Okay. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything that you can do to amend this at this point, but I've lived places where, you know, students could sign up with their parents' permission and be on a list, and if there was an elderly person who, for whatever reason, couldn't get their sidewalk cleared, you could hire a kid, you know? And this is really important to me because I really make an effort to get out there at 6 a.m. and then I end up meeting the students as they walk to school. And I know that you don't fine people for not clearing their sidewalks here, which many places I've lived do. And that way the sidewalk gets cleared before the ice forms and the kids don't end up with wet feet. I mean, if there would be any way that you could put aside some money for this, because I think it sends a message to the kids whether or not they're cared for by the community, if the sidewalks are cleared or not. And also, I mean, when we have an awful lot of snow days, the rec centers were opening at 11 a.m. until people complained about it on social media. Well, if they're getting ready to walk by and go to school at 7:30 and get breakfast, and you have to wait 3 hours and you need breakfast, what does that say to our kids in the community about how much we care about them? So I don't know if you can amend this at all and add maybe some little extra money for kids to, you know, maybe shovel a sidewalk and go buy a breakfast if the rec centers are going to be late opening. Thank you.
Marcus C. Williams.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Marcus C. Williams, and as far as the snow plow removal and the street fixing and stuff like that, for about 5 years, this is not a joke, for about 5 years outside of my house, the city did some work. They were digging up a pipe or whatever with the main, and it's been a bulge underneath the ground that's just been covered over with tar. On my street, we still have some of the slate tiles, so they just jacked that up real nice, and now it's hideous. And it's just had these orange cones and with blinkers around it for 5 years. It's not a joke. It's not a joke, and that's very disappointing. So I'd appreciate it if you guys could address that, but I'd also appreciate it if you guys could be more attentive to the actual ways that the sidewalks are, how would you say, leveled. Because there seems to be a very serious issue with the leveling of the majority of the sidewalks. But on top of that, we have an issue when it comes to the actual plowing of the sidewalk. I know it's whatever it is, 4 inches, 12 inches, it doesn't even matter because they don't plow the sidewalk on the majority of my area until it's way past too long gone. And I don't understand. I've talked to the people that the city contracts with, and they're like, well, we just come out when they tell us to come out. I don't know what the system is, but clearly there's some sort of a breakdown there because not enough is being done. And as far as the maintenance of the street, I don't know how we do this. Usually I've got solutions for you guys, but I'm not quite sure how we do this. But maybe there's an easier way to actually sign up and say that the street is messed up, and there is a more timely manner in which it actually gets addressed, because a lot of the things, potholes included, generally don't seem to get addressed in a timely manner. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Are there any other speakers signed up for introductory number 240?
With no other speakers, that hearing is now adjourned. And before we move, we're going to try to figure out what's going on. Close the middle tab. Oh, the mouse is not working. Okay. The little things. Clerk Washington.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: confirming the assessments, amounts, and charges to be inserted in the annual tax rolls for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2025 and expiring June 30th, 2026. Introductory number 241, any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard. Marcus C. Wrong mic. Marcus C. Williams. It's 241 is on the confirming the assessments.
Oh, the assessments for the school, right? Is that
It's for the city.
for the city assessment?
Confirming the
Oh,
assessment.
okay. Sorry.
Okay.
Trying to remember which one was which, because there were the three of them. Hello, everybody. My name is Marcus C. Williams. I'm talking to speak on the assessments for the city, and the assessment and the taxes, really a lot of the money is supposed to be procured for the city school district. I do not have any children at this time, and if I did, I wouldn't send them to city schools. I don't believe that me, as a male that is a single individual that does not have any children, should be forced to pay for the destitution of our society by the RCSD. No offense to anybody that's in there now, but the money for the RCSD is absolutely being mismanaged, to say at least. I know they're making some changes to that, but I don't want my money that I have to pay in taxes to go to them. As a person that doesn't have any kids, I shouldn't pay for that. The reason being is the people that are going to the school and getting out of the schools, they're creating monsters. And it's not the children's fault, it's what's going on in the schools. They're turning into criminals, they're turning into ne'er-do-wells, they're turning into people that are not able to be productive members of society, but that's not their fault. That's the fault of the way our money from our taxes, from our assessments, are applied. Also, in addition to the regular assessments, the continued updating of the assessments. I don't believe that the assessments should be changed for somebody else's property just because somebody else bought another property on the actual street. Anybody that bought a property at a certain price, their stuff should go up, but not everybody else's. That's not fair to them, because a lot of these people are paying way over exorbitant costs for the actual properties that they're not listed at. I saw one house listed in my neighborhood not too far from me. New knockdown construction house was bought originally for about $75,000 in the early 90s. It was worth and listed on the tax rolls as $90,000, and somebody just bought it for $170,000. Okay, now this is a 11,000 square foot house off of Jefferson. What is going on? Why should everybody else's price go up based on that? I don't think that that's okay, and I believe that that should actually be addressed in this, if not able to be addressed in this session, but in upcoming legislation by City Council. That would be greatly appreciated, and I'm sure anybody else that has property that is owned by the city would appreciate that as well. We should not be penalized because other people want to overpay. Thank you very much.
All right, seeing no other speakers, that hearing is now adjourned.
Pursuant to law, a public hearing will now be had on the following matter: authorizing the sale of 45 Excel Drive and a portion of 25 Excel Drive, introductory number 184. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
Seeing no speakers, that, oh, sorry.
I don't know if this is on.
Yes.
Green light? Is the green light on? Yes.
Yes.
We can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, sorry about that. My name's Lisa Barr. I live in the Southwest District. I'm opposed to these proposed sales because it appears the Evans administration has doubled down on the lack of transparency decried by, among others, Councilwoman Stanley Martin and mayoral candidate and Councilwoman Mary Lupian. Where is the video link for any possible discussion of these sales in other committees? Relevant because one of the council block that regularly rubber stamps Evans' proposals inappropriately chastised Mary Lupian by assuming she had not watched a video of a meeting. These sales are problematic because they occur at a time of an overheated by climate catastrophe housing shortage. Note, I did not use the phrase housing market. I am concerned there is not enough information provided to rule out price gouging by potential flippers who work for or with the real estate industry. Beware any industry that can trademark the word realtor and thereby intimidate generations of journalists taught to capitalize a word that means a seller of property. They're salespeople, nothing more nor less. But when there are this many unhoused, it becomes an issue. I'm also asking you to oppose these sales because there is a boomtown vibe here similar to what I noticed while covering environmental issues in the state legislature of Louisiana 40 years ago. I think what I observed is relevant for a city council that includes public servants I believe have state and possibly national futures, even those of you with whom I disagree, a little or a lot. It is a cautionary yet relevant tale. So my sources had told me, basically, that state legislator at that point, William Jefferson, would move out a 4 decades old improvement of a tumor registry bill. This would help the largely African-American residents of Cancer Alley. But Jefferson kept his head down in committee and did not speak, and I saw the fossil fool guys in suits at the back of the room, their eyes drilled into him. He kept his head down. The measure was tabled. I met him in the hallway, and I looked at him like, what happened? And he said, Lisa, things aren't always as easy as they seem. I thought of that when decades later, then U.S. Representative Jefferson, he'd replaced Lindy Boggs. He was indicted and jailed for corruption. The photo of cash and food containers in his freezer became a late-night talk show joke. So my question for all of you, and I mean no disrespect, but do these sales make sense? I'm not sure they do. Is anyone pressuring you even mildly to just go along with things? One other thing about William Jefferson, he ended up getting a national award from the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce is a really questionable organization, and they're trying to pressure you on a different issue, the RG&E issue, which I'm going to speak to later. Thank you.
Seeing no other speakers, that hearing is now adjourned.
Pursuant to law, a public hearing will now be had on the following matter: approving and authorizing submittal of the Citizen Participation Plan, amended 2025-29, amended the 2025-29 Consolidated Community Development Plan, and the 2025-26 Annual Action Plan, and authorizing the execution of grant agreements. Introductory number 189. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
Hey everybody, Marcus C. Williams here. I have a couple of questions. I wanted to try to get to go through this. I know they're still working on the portal to try to make it more easy to read and stuff like that. But what I've been trying to figure out is how a lot of these things are passed. It seems like a lot of the community doesn't have knowledge of them, or when they're doing the hearings for them to actually participate. And I'd like to ask for that to be looked into to see how it can be dispersed better. It seems like a lot of people don't find out until the last minute. And then in some cases, like over on West Main right now, they just put up all of these new blockades that they're like, oh, well, we're protecting the bike lanes. No, you're not. You're causing havoc. A bus drove up on one the other day. It caused a car accident last night, and it's just a pain, to put it mildly. So there are certain plans that are being put into place in our city, and I know that not a lot of the citizens know about them. And it's very problematic, because then we get the community members that get very upset, and then they come down here and they want to protest or they want to be angry. But rightfully so, a lot of this stuff we're not aware of, and we're not able to see how it's coming out, when it's coming out. I know you guys do some stuff in coordination with some of the neighborhood groups, but a lot of the neighborhood groups, there aren't a lot of the people in the neighborhoods that are members of these neighborhood groups. I don't have a solution on this. Give me some time. I will come up with a solution on this, and I'll give it to you guys. But right now, I don't even have enough time to go through my issues with all of these things that are in these two things. But I thank you. And one last thing. I'm very concerned about the development of these streets and how they're redoing them, consolidating the lanes. It's becoming a very serious issue for traffic, for not just pedestrians, but other people that are driving as well. And I know you guys are doing this City Vision Zero, or whatever it's called. It's a pain, and it's inconveniencing a large majority of the citizens in favor of a few people who are funded by funders who make profits off of them doing that. And we need to have that as a serious conversation, because you're impeding people's lives and commerce, and it's also become havoc for the police, EMS, and everything to get down by my area because of these new developments. And I'd really like a more open conversation with the community on these impacts, because what they're trying to do is make it so that we don't drive and we don't have any private vehicles. And they've said as much if you listen to these people that are pushing this stuff. Thank you. That's what I got.
So, hi, Matthew Gould. Wasn't intending to speak on this issue, but I would just like to note there is no meaningful traffic in the city of Rochester. There is not now. There has not been for decades. Adding a few bike lanes, protected bike lanes, which I do really appreciate, especially the ones on, West Main and stuff like that, is a good thing, and we should have that. And it's not some nefarious cabal to prevent people from, driving cars or anything like that. It's just, trying to make our streets safer, because they're unsafe right now. So, yeah, that's it.
Seeing no other speakers, that hearing is now adjourned.
Pursuant to law, a public hearing will now be had on the following matter: authorizing substantial amendments for the 2017-18 and the 2018-19 annual action plans, and appropriating funds for home buyer assistance. Introductory number 203, any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
Seeing no speakers, that hearing is now adjourned.
Pursuant to law, a public hearing will now be had on the following matter: resolution designating Abid Realty LLC as qualified and eligible to purchase 45 Excel Drive and a portion of 25 Excel Drive to conduct an urban renewal project. Introductory number URA 6, any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
Seeing no speakers, the hearing is now adjourned. All right, so we will now begin our Speak to Council session. All speakers will be given 2 minutes at the podium. Speak to Council is a time for members of the public to comment on any and all matters relating to the city. Sign-ups for this session closed at 4:30 p.m. this afternoon. The list of speakers can be found in the back of the room and in the hallway. Speakers discussing legislation on this month's City Council agenda are placed on the A list. Speakers commenting on all other matters are placed on the B list. Under Council's rules, the clerk will call city residents first. We prioritize the citizens speaking to the elected representatives of the city. And as a reminder, the council is here to listen to all matters, and it is customary that we do not respond. We respectfully ask that each speaker offer council the same respect that they would expect to receive in return. In doing so, please refrain from profanity and other harmful language. Council members do have the contact information for all of tonight's speakers and may follow up on any concerns that pique their interest. Clerk Washington will call each speaker to the podium, and we ask that you respect the person behind you by yielding the podium at the end of your allotted 2 minutes. Clerk Washington.
Clifford Florence Jr. He's from the South District. He is followed by Shirley Thompson.
I've been down here several times to talk about the same matter in regards to my grandfather, and I see nothing has moved on that matter. And I wanted to see why I haven't got a response from anybody on City Council on this matter when I've been down here several times. Just to bring you all up to speed on how I got to where we arrived. Harry Bronson stood up publicly in a meeting and said when it came to honoring Minister Franklin Florence, this is a black issue, and I'm quoting him. He said, Demond Meeks and Malik Evans will handle this. Malik Evans then stood up quickly and said, we can't do it because John Trickey is in the way. I asked quickly, who is John Trickey? They notified me that he's a big-time property owner in Rochester. I reached out to John Trickey myself, and he told me that he doesn't even know Demond Meeks. He doesn't know Malik Evans. He doesn't know why they would bring his name up in such matters. Adam Bello was in the room as well. Joe Morelli was in the room, and he was very upset because that was the second time that he was there on that matter, and he encouraged all of the delegation that was there to move forward with this. Also reached out to Jeremy Cooney. He was on board with this matter. But when it comes to the city council and Malik Evans, it seemed like there's a holdup, and I come down to understand why is there a holdup. Mr. Patterson, do you agree that we should honor Minister Franklin Florence with the streets that Mr. President Melendez know that I came down to talk about? Are you in favor of that? I would like an answer because you want votes. It'd be good to give us an answer in public. Do you agree with honoring Minister Franklin Florence? Ms. Monroe, do you agree with honoring Minister Franklin Florence? Ms. Martin, President Melendez, Ms. Lupien, Lachey Harris, do you agree with honoring Minister Franklin Florence? Mitch Gruber, do you agree with honoring Minister Franklin Florence? I saw you bragging on Facebook about how you like the black vote, but when I reached out to you to talk to you, to come and meet with you at your office, you denied me. So I don't understand why you would be happy.
Your time is up.
Just 1 second, because when I watched the mayor debate, I didn't see a gavel being bung.
Sir, your time is
So I
up.
just need 1 more minute. Mr. Gruber, do you agree with honoring Minister Franklin Florence?
Sir, we appreciate you. Your time
I've
is
come
up.
down here 8
Yep.
and 9 times. I need answers. I haven't got anything from.
Your time is up. It's time for the next speaker.
So everybody remember that. When you go vote for Mr. Patterson, he was mute.
Shirley Thompson.
So what's going on here? We can't get no answers. Mr. Gruber, I reached out to you. Nothing. I talked to Ms. Lupe, and she said that Malik never brought this up to talk to anybody about it. So I know it's not a matter. So you can sit there with a dead face. You know I'm telling you the truth. And shame on you for that.
All right, sir, we appreciate you.
I understand y'all appreciate it, but what I don't appreciate is being ignored. So how many times do I have to come down here to talk about the same thing before the meter moves on that matter? How many times? Just tell me in front of everybody how many times.
Sir, Ms. time is waiting.
I don't care.
Well, your time is up, so we need to relinquish the
I don't care
mic.
whose time is up. I've been down here countless times on the same matter, and I have not been addressed on my matter. The podium is going to be held until I get answers. So somebody tell me, who has the courage? President, I heard you the other night, and I gave you credit. When I came down here, you met with me. You met with me. I give you credit, but where I take the credit away from you, because when you said you will stand up to the federal government, you got to stand up to Malik as well. That's your job. That's your obligation. Y'all not here to like me. Y'all here to serve me. Y'all here to serve everybody. We shouldn't have to come down here and beg for what y'all are reaping the benefits of. We shouldn't have to come down here and plead with people that look like us. Black people, white people. We out here begging for what we want. We out here pleading for what we want. How can you all say that you will walk amongst this community? You walk amongst this community, but yet the little things, the free things, they don't change. People say, oh, he's out of control. This is just passion. This is passion. You can ask me to leave, and I'm going to stay because I believe in what I'm doing. I believe in what I'm saying is right. And if this is what it takes to bring attention to my matter peacefully, this is what we got to do. And it's sad that you would have somebody come down here to act like this when we know what I'm saying is right. I'll approach everybody as an individual, but we got to do it collectively so we can show people we on the same page. We on the same page. We on the same page. But nobody wants to be on the same page. And this is why I'm running for city council. This is my first time running because I don't want people to come down here and feel like me. I don't want people to go down here and have to beg people, black people, brown people, white people, about what we talking about is right. They can trespass me all they want to. I know what I'm saying is right. You ain't got to learn how to get into some good trouble. And if challenging people is about that, that's what we got to do. That's what we got to do.
Shirley Thompson is from the Northwest District.
A street named after Minister Franklin Florence is long overdue. Long overdue. My name is Shirley Thompson. I'm a Rochester resident speaking on behalf of Elders and Allies, founded in 2020 following the murders of Daniel Pruitt and George Floyd. Our mission is to dismantle racism in all its forms throughout this community, which is why I stand before you in support of the proposed legislation to strengthen Rochester's sanctuary designation. This legislation gives City Council greater authority to enforce policies which prohibit local police and city personnel from assisting immigration and customs enforcement agents who enforce immigration law. Current practice has no such provision, and the vast number of people now in detention are black and brown, often stopped and detained simply because of the color of their skin. It is clear that Rochester's 1986 decision to become a sanctuary city must be fiercely defended and enhanced, especially now that we're in the national spotlight. Those who fear retaliation urge us to comply with legally questionable executive orders and bow to the powers that be. This legislation, however, demonstrates the courage and determination local governments have to prioritize community welfare over federal enforcement agencies. We can limit the use of local law enforcement, whose primary duty is to preserve and protect all residents, and we can establish consequences for them as an arm of federal immigration control. Being a sanctuary city does not mean disrespect for the law. Instead, it requires applying the law equitably and justly, rather than punitively, based on identity or origin. The longer we fail to act, the more families are separated, people's lives are disrupted, and the principles of our democracy diminished. Thank you.
Matthew Gold.
Speaking about the budget, but about something else. Do you want me to move to the back of the B list, or
We can
Yeah, we are.
okay? So we all know what's happening out in LA. And while it's definitely not the portrayal of what is being portrayed by the media, certainly if a lot of people would have you believe that the entire city is on fire, and whereas the protests have been concentrated to a very small section of downtown, the fact of the matter is these protests aren't to raise awareness. They are fundamentally a bunch of community members seeking to protect their community from a bunch of fascist thugs who are raiding homes, schools, places of work, places of worship, hospitals, and I want to say that is morally just. And we talk about the sanctuary legislation, and I know that a bunch of other people are probably going to speak about it, but the fact of the matter is the actions of this government the federal government aren't legitimate, not in any way, shape, or form. And so I would ask that you, and we've seen further escalation today with the brief arrest and detainment of Senator Alex Padilla for merely trying to ask the DHS secretary a question. And this wasn't in the context of the secretary threatening to liberate California's government their democratically elected governments. This government the federal government does not believe in the legitimacy of anyone who does not share their ideology. They do not believe that we should be allowed to govern ourselves. And I would argue that they have sort of forfeited any legitimacy they themselves have. And so I would ask three things of you. One, I would ask that you acknowledge that it's simply not enough to actively not assist assisting ICE in raids by blocking protesters from obstructing them is also assistance in ICE, and I would argue that should be considered a violation of sanctuary policy. Second, I would ask that while I don't think you can condone it, I would say that you at least refrain from condemning people, even if they engage in violence against federal law enforcement, when they are defending their community.
Your time is up.
Just thugs. Thank you.
Amy D'Amico. Amy D'Amico. Robert Henderson. From the South District, followed by Zanetta Green.
Hi, my name is Robert Henderson. I'm here to talk about reparations for foundational Black Americans. And I see I'm not the only one pissed off with y'all. My man crashed out for some reason. I'm not here to do that, but I'm here to let y'all know that y'all not getting our votes. That crap that the governor is trying, she ain't gonna win. I hate to tell y'all that. Just like Kamala Harris ain't win, a lot of y'all ain't gonna win either. That's what I'm here to tell y'all. Cause we've been coming here to tell y'all for a long time what black folks need. And y'all been ducking and dodging us. But y'all been giving everything to these illegals that's crashing out there in California. And we letting them know that that's not our fight. We stand out of that. You know what I'm saying? Because you came here, you broke the law. We didn't break the law. A lot of us, you know what I'm saying, we got locked up under Joe Biden. You know what I'm saying? I'm one of his casualties under his, you know what I'm saying, crime bill. That's why I would never vote for him or another Democrat. You know what I'm saying? But it's all good because elections have consequences. Y'all have a nice day.
Zanetta Green. LaWanda Shipman. LaWanda is followed by Lilia Risman.
Good evening, everyone. I am LaWanda Shipman. I'm the Vice President of the Federation of Social Workers and the President of Metro Justice. My union members and I serve the most vulnerable population in Monroe County. We see people at their lowest. An issue we've been having is that the members that the clients that we serve have been receiving inaccurate utility bills, meter reading errors, and subpar customer service through RG&E. They receive a monthly bill, and a few days later, they receive a shut-off notice. My union members and I are asking City Council to use the $500,000 you've already reserved to take the lead on commissioning a Phase 1 feasibility study to make RG&E a public utility in our area. Many public utility transitions happen at the city level, whether those cities are large or small. Come on, Rochester. We don't need anyone else to save us. We have the funds. The city government routinely spends millions, even on studies. Why is a study on replacing RG&E any different? Why is it any different? Well, you stand with the people to get independent answers instead of using the inaction of the county as an excuse. We need to hear from you. We need you to do this. The audit of RG&E recently showed dramatic security and compliance concerns that affects everyone in here with a utility bill. I encourage everyone to read the study and join us here next Tuesday, because you would be surprised of the issues that we have with RG&E. Will city leaders continue to refuse to act? We need answers. We need the feasibility study, and we need it now. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lilia Rissman. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. I am asking council to reallocate funds for a public utility study. I am standing here because I was just so horrified to learn about the findings of the audit. I had heard RG&E was bad, but I didn't understand just how bad it was, from pipeline safety issues to talking about public committees that didn't even exist. And my particular situation in my house, which I own south of Strong Hospital, is that we are trying to do everything right. We have a smart meter, we do time of use billing, and yet it is really hard to predict how much our bill is going to be based on how much we actually use. And I've talked to a lot of people since I learned about this, and without exception, every person I've talked to is like, oh yeah, RG&E is terrible. They are the worst. And I think one of the things that's going on is that most people don't know that there is an alternative to RG&E, that we have the right to a public utility at the city or the county level. But this council does know that there is an alternative, and we deserve to have the information from a public study about whether that makes sense for our community. We deserve to have that information. And I'd just like to say in closing that I'm a lifelong Democrat, and our party is out of power at the federal level because the majority of people in this country didn't think that Democrats could actually help improve the lives of everyday people. I believe that our party can do that, but it starts at home. It starts with actually making changes on the ground that benefit the people of our community. Thank you very much.
Maggie Kane, Eugene Evans is followed by Michael Harold.
Hello, my name is Eugene Evans, and I live in the East District. I'm a postdoc at the University of Rochester in the Mechanical Engineering Department, and I work on fusion energy research. So I do think a lot about energy on a daily basis. Although tonight, I'd like to focus on why Rochester should commission a feasibility study for a public utility. The study will give us vital information that we can use as leverage to get RG&E to work better for our community, even before we as a city decide whether or not to pursue a public utility. As has been noted before, it's not fair that the inaction at the county level means that we have to fund this ourselves. But at this point, no one else is going to do it, so we have to do it. I understand the City Council exists within the framework of Monroe County and the state of New York. And it has been rightly pointed out that there are other avenues to change the way that RG&E operates in Rochester, including the New York Public Service Commission and the New York legislature itself. And I would also note that there's a lot of organizing power within the city of Rochester, as you've been experiencing, that the city council members could use when they go to put pressure on these state level entities. The feasibility study will only strengthen our hand when we appeal to state level entities. If we go to the Public Service Commission and ask for changes to the rates that RG&E can charge, or to gain more oversight over RG&E's operations in the city, the Commission's first question is going to be, what is wrong and what changes do you want to make? The feasibility study will provide those answers. If in the future a decision is made to proceed with forming a public utility, and we go to the New York legislature to try to get loans to help with that, the first question is going to be, does this make any sense and how much will it cost? The feasibility study will answer these questions. And so I urge all of our city council members to fight for our city and vote to commission the feasibility study. Thank you.
Michael Harold. It's followed by Clayton Lyons.
Hello, my name is Michael Harold. I am a union representative for 1199 SEIU, and as you can see, I just got off of work over at Strong Hospital. Just want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to your constituents, and thank you. You might not get a lot of credit for this, but thank you for all of the great work that City Council does. It's a great place. My partner's raising her child here. The programs for the kids, the school, RCSD is not in the room, but I thank them for the work they do. Which brings me to why it's so hard for me to, I'm talking about the public study. Why it's so hard for me to understand why we can't fund the public study. It's very clear that when the city wants to get certain things done, whether it's because of the mayor or the council, they're very able to come up with innovative solutions to do things that they want to do, but we're getting all of these ridiculous process arguments about the county or whatever. And I've been a union rep for 5 years, and I know when management is making process arguments, it's just because they don't want to be honest and they don't want to do the right thing. I mean, a lot of the stuff that we hear about RG&E being the biggest taxpayer, that's an insult to our intelligence. We pay the rates. That's where the taxes come from. We're paying those taxes. So I'm here to ask to fund the study, or at the very least, look at the merits of the proposal and judge it on the merits, not based on what political alliances or friendships or who's getting their beak wet or sitting on what board. None of that. Look at what's going to be good for the constituents. What could we learn from this study? Could we get union jobs at RG&E if it's owned by the city? Could we lower rates? And work together, get it done.
Clayton Lyons is followed by Xavier Robinson.
Good evening, Council. I thought I'd be speaking tonight about RG&E. I'm not. Instead, I'm here once again to speak about my status as a subcontractor for your city. In December, Untrapped Ministries, my organization received an award letter for $40,000 to participate in the Rochester Peace Collective. You've all heard this by now. By Mayor Evans' noted mission, the RPC is designed to support grassroots organizations like ours because these grassroots entities have disproportionately high impact on peace building with disproportionately low resources. However, after being told our organization did not qualify for a payment advance because of our status of having a fiduciary, I spoke in this chamber, explaining that our fiduciary relationship was not to front us money, but was to hold and allocate that money as we saw fit. Now in May, I spoke again to this chamber, asking what in the world is going on, why are our people not getting paid? The very next day, May 16th, Shirley Green and Jalen Webb, your staff, they did a site visit observing our group, meeting with our staff. We were told that funds could get dispensed. In this meeting, they told us that if a few final budgetary items were completed. I personally provided that paperwork. Based on that conversation, I figured funds would follow. They haven't. Instead, yesterday, we got a letter from the city's legal department threatening legal action against us, right? Stating that because of 2 technical violations, our contract might be entirely voided. Now, the first technical thing was once again saying the fiduciary had to front payment. However, that contradicted what we were told by city staff on May 16th. The second technicality your legal department stated was that untrapped staff, i.e. me, have been the one sending over budgetary documents. And that was the reason for legal action. Now, for real, are you threatening legal action because the wrong person sent an email? That's what it sounds a lot like. So here's where we stand, all right? So we have folks willing to deny some of the most vulnerable individuals in our community from receiving money they've earned and worked for, all because of contractual technicalities. This is a $40,000 budget with $40,000 contract within the grand scheme of an $800 million budget. If you wanted to make this happen, you could. This is just a gross misrepresentation of what the city should be doing. Please help us fix this issue. This is ridiculous. Thank you very much.
Xavier Robinson is followed by Raymond Banks.
Hello, my name is Xavier Robinson Spikes. I'm here with Clay, same behalf. I just want to say a few things. Hello, I'm here to speak about the financial situation impacting our life. You know? Oh, I'm sorry. You know, I'm owed several $1,000, you know, being with the program. Nothing is happening. It's like we're getting caught in the crossfire of two big companies, and we're getting the free fall of it. You know, we're here to better the community, so I honestly don't see the problem, especially when y'all gave us the grant. It's not adding up, not making sense, you know, so I would just like to say that, yeah.
Raymond Banks is followed by Scott Chapman.
Buenas noches. Le hablo español porque es lo único que yo sé hablar, español. Yo no comprendo por qué estas personas de aquí, que están detrás de mí, no quieren votar cuando ya tenemos el dinero que ha sido aplicado para resolver el problema de la electricidad. Porque esto se está volviendo una locura. Estas personas no trabajan para nosotros. Usted no trabaja ni para ellos mismos. Nadie sabe por qué trabaja. Pero ahora, en este mes, vamos a hacer elecciones. Hay que votarlos. Y se vayan a trabajar. Aquí hay muy buenos representantes. Hay que votarlos. Le pido que voten en contra de esta persona que están en contra de nosotros. Porque nosotros somos los que le pagamos sus salarios. Ya basta. No más. Amén. Buenas noches.
Scott Chapman is followed by Dr. Michelle Wenderlich.
Good evening. My name is Scott Chapman. I own XL Service and Towing. I'm here to represent myself and the three other companies in the tow rotation. I've already sent an email to Mr. Patterson and Mrs. Moreau's office regarding the introductory 245, regarding the municipal code change to the tow rates, which do not affect the actual rotation of the pound itself. This is not our contract. This is strictly the municipal code. We're asking to, if you can actually get that email that I sent out, it kind of breaks down where I'm coming from with numbers. They were proposing $150 charge and then a $45 a day storage fee. Right now it's $140 and $40 storage. Again, I broke everything down at Mr. Patterson and Ms. Monroe's office. I would just ask you to kind of take the time to look at it, kind of understand it, kind of see where we're coming from as a business in the city. I've been around for 30 years. The other guys have been around longer. it's just more of an information. I know nobody knows another business like they know their own, or how they operate. It's like you, I have no idea what your job is. I don't sit up there every day or every week and understand what you do. For all I know, you're here for 2 hours a week, and that's all I know. Basically, again, the email is the biggest thing. Basically, it's just about costs. Our costs have just skyrocketed since the last rate change was in 2019, and we're just asking to be heard. That's it. Thanks.
Dr. Michelle Wenderlich is followed by Oscar Brewer.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Mishi Wenderlich, the Campaign and Policy Coordinator of Metro Justice. It's good to be here with all of you. Today, I want to highlight just some of the extremely shocking findings of the recent PSC audit of RG&E and say that we need the city to lead to address this still. So some of those things, there are major public safety and compliance risks with gas infrastructure and cybersecurity, with RG&E not reporting their response times to gas leaks or emergencies, and disaster recovery plans that are incomplete or inconsistent. Some quotes. Avangrid does not develop operational plans to achieve goals related to NYSEG and RG&E. They do not develop plans on the RG&E level. There is a lack of cohesive asset management strategy. Avangrid failed to maintain basic records for completed electric and gas capital projects. Avangrid's organizational governance does not comply with the PSC. So basically, its corporate structure and subcontracting obscure where money is going and whether costs are being allocated appropriately. Leadership does not actually know what's happening. Another quote, PSC staff observed that many Avangrid personnel did not have sufficient understanding of NYSEG and RG&E operations to answer questions. Avangrid lied about climate planning, saying climate regulatory planning was happening in a committee that does not exist. Avangrid excludes large amounts of customers to improve customer service metrics. So this is just a sampling. A phase 1 study that covers the city and the county does not cost more than what you all have already agreed to pay. And would, if you actually want a study to move forward, city leadership on a phase 1 study is done by an independent third party is the way to get the county on board. The city council does have the power to direct the administration to act. Residents of Rochester, whose lives are so often thrown into crisis by this multinational corporation, need you to act. So we also need to re-reserve that $500,000 next Tuesday. We're also calling you to vote on an enforceable sanctuary ordinance and release the funds for untrapped ministries. And just a small note, bonding for a public utility is done through revenue bonds of a new utility based on the rate
Your time
base,
is up.
not on general municipal bonds. That's also covered as part of the study. Thank you very much.
Oscar Brewer. And Metter. It's followed by Marcus C. Williams.
Good evening. My last name actually starts with an N, as in
I am
Nancy.
so sorry.
That's all right. I'm here again. I was here a month ago, and my purpose is to ask you who put their stamp on the Healthy Grocer program that you are endorsing in the city. What role do addictive items play in these healthy markets? I see tobacco. I see alcohol. I see lotto. I see lots of sugar and empty calorie items. The majority of these convenience stores are anything but healthy. To say on a website that we will help you easily find wholesome and nutritious options to fill your basket, do you know what empty calorie and sugar does to your mind and your body? It affects our employment, it affects our schools, it affects the minds of the children that rely on the food that comes from these stores. Where is the healthy option? Abundance and the public market? Of course, those are two examples you could use on a micro level and replicate, but yet, why? What is the catch that convenience stores get to qualify? Where's the 5 and 20 rule for what really nutritious items look like? Because I paid $3 for a can of beans in a healthy market, over $3 if I want to use credit. The dollar store had the exact same can for $1.25 down the street. Clean, no tobacco, no alcohol. I can build a pizza for $3 there. Healthy, 5 and 20 nutrient label rules. Why? Why, City of Rochester, would you ever do that to your population who can only afford to walk to the corner? And when you have $3, you buy a candy bar or fried chicken or a piece of pizza because a can of beans won't cook you dinner.
Marcus C. Williams is followed by Lorraine Parr.
Hey everybody, Marcus C. Williams here. I'm going to run through this list real quick. I don't have a lot of time to cover everything. But the lack of advocacy from this body on public safety is whack. The whole issue with the lack of policy regarding housing is whack. The whole issue with the energy policy in this city is whack. The whole issue with the transportation and the way the city streets is set up is whack. All of these things are issues. I come here and I talk about a lot of them, and I try to give solutions all the time on all of these issues. I really wish that we would have more transparency on. A lot of you guys ran on transparency, and I'm not seeing it. I'm just not. I hate to tell you. A lot of the RFPs and stuff like that, I got questions that I don't have answers, and a lot of it doesn't look very clean to me. Excuse me. And then as far as what we got for energy policy, people are calling for RG&E to be a public utility. I was one of the first people to publicly call for that as far as being a politician goes. But what they're asking for is not a public utility. What they want is actually a nonprofit that they can control themselves. If it was a real public utility, I would say that what we need to start by doing is reallocating those funds into looking into creating small modular nuclear reactors in this city so that we don't have to rely on the infrastructure from RG&E and their power issues and stuff like that, that we can create it here ourselves, and we have more than enough power and we can sell it outside. Plus there's grants from the federal government and the state government to work on that, and you guys can actually look into that. Also, as far as the housing policies, I don't want there to be any more tax breaks on all of these huge buildings and stuff with all of this upper scale housing that you're not giving to the same to regular people that own properties in their own homes. And I also want to see you guys draft legislation for the public safety issue by actually drafting legislation here, which you can craft, to hold these continued offenders that keep getting let loose because you guys don't advocate to the state level to change these laws. That's what I got for you guys. Thank you guys very much. Have a blessed night.
Lorraine Parr. Matt Seidel. Michael Lohr. Brent Liberty.
Hi, good evening, City Council. My name is Brent. I'm one of the co-chairs of the Rochester chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America, and I am delivering the following statement on behalf of our chapter, which is part of the Rochester for Energy Democracy Coalition. For too long, the residents of this city have had their electricity controlled by a handful of capitalists whose priority is not to supply folks with power, but to reap profits off the backs of ratepayers. I'm of course talking about RG&E, their parent company Avangrid, and their parent company Iberdrola, which is all the way in Spain. That means your constituents' heat, appliances, medical devices, and other items necessary for survival being controlled by people whose number one priority is accumulating profit. We must take the power back from the capitalists by removing the profit motive and putting control back in the hands of our community. Public power also means lower electric bills, access to lower interest rates, local jobs, and a just transition to green energy. As socialists, we believe in people having democratic input in all aspects of their life, and that includes their access to electricity. 3 months ago, the Monroe County Legislature showed that these goals are not a priority for them. They're more concerned with listening to RG&E's corporate lobbyists. Well, the ratepayers and the climate cannot wait for the county to get it together. This is where City Council comes in. We're calling on you to fully fund and commission an implementation study to replace RG&E with a public utility, giving us the facts on both a county and citywide level. Step up where the county legislature has failed us and show the people of Rochester, who have been calling for a public utility for years, that you truly represent them. I gave that exact statement a year ago tomorrow, and the people of Rochester are still waiting. So public power now, pass the enhanced sanctuary city policy, and stop the encampment sweeps. Thank you.
Esther Rivkin. Edward Donnelly is followed by Anita Twitchell.
Good evening, and thank you for serving, council members. My name's Ed Donnelly. I live at 2 Argyle Street, apartment 14607. I've addressed the board a couple times, but not very often. I'm an owner and occupant of 2 Argyle. I live with, I am the landlord for 7 other great tenants and neighbors. And we've owned and with my husband, Tom, we've owned 2 Argyle for 14 years and moved from Brighton and lived there for the last 6. I've had my share of, and I handle 6 of the, all but 1 tenant's bills. I manage those. And I've had my share of overages and mistakes, $500 for 1 bedroom, which is usually 40 to 50. They wouldn't refund the money. It took over 11 months to pay that, for me to pay, wait for that to be paid back. I asked for meter readings. They haven't showed up for 13 months. We got the smart meters, but now I don't have a smart gas meter. I can't put it in the system online because it's now smart. And I have to be on the phone to call that in. My tenant was threatened with a fee because her meter wasn't read. So I believe we can do a lot better. You're my counsel right now. I know others who are running said they support this, but you're my elected officials. Could you please have a study? You wouldn't go to the doctor or make a decision on purchasing without gathering information. Let's gather the information. I just want to study. And then you can make, if you're still here, the council can make the hard decision on whether we go with the public utility or not. Fund the study, approve it. I yield my seconds left. Thank you very much.
Ames Griggs, or Amos Griggs? Ames? Okay, I said Ames first. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for listening to us tonight. My name is Ames Grigg. I live at 407 Durnan Street. Tonight I want to bring to your attention an egregious example of structural and environmental racism that I came across. This is happening at 936 Portland Avenue, where Verizon Wireless is proposing a 60-foot 5G cell tower and industrial equipment compound on the corner of Portland and Oneida, which is a main street in a residential area. Cell towers are not permitted in residential areas. This proposal is unprecedented. The applicant put forward false information. It's in their application. And throughout that application, there are false drawings from engineers. There are false photo simulations, which are not simulations of the actual proposal. And the wording, there's no description of the full proposal. So as far as like why I think it's environmental racism is because this proposal would not have happened in neighborhood of the arts, and it wouldn't have happened on Park. The application, so it's not, so this is happening from the applicant, but it's also happening from the zoning administration. This was listed as what's called a unlisted, which means that it needs a further environmental review, but the zoning manager changed it to a type 2. This is startling, of course, but also this was on a lot where there was a gas station and a buried oil drum. This needs to have an environmental review. It's very straightforward. The other important aspect of this, all right, well, thanks.
Anita Twitchell.
Hi, I'm Anita Twitchell. I just wanted to say a couple simple truths right now. One, this is obvious foot dragging by people who never intend to even have a study. Forget about actually getting it done. RG&E should be gone already. How many voices have to speak up before people will start listening? Oh, that's right. I'll tell you. 30% of the time, people who make under $1 million get to make decisions in this country. You want to talk about environmental racism? Go look down your Kodak where all those people are standing on a Superfund site and all those children are probably going to get cancer. All right, there's a consistent, systematic culling of people who do not make a lot of money in this country. And you can see, if you look around and you listen to people who are talking about politics, there's an understanding that money is power and money is speech. So the more money you have, the more speech and the more power you have. It just goes hand in hand. And the thing that really peeves me is that there's this disconnect. These people don't work for you. None of them. None of them are going to work for you. It's about money, all right? They're listening to the money. It's just a part and parcel of what we expect of government. And I'm going to say something else. Don't wait around for the Democratic Party to save you in the great blue state of New York, because people who don't vote progressive, people who are saying they're Democrats and are not progressive in this state, are just Republicans. They just know that they can't win unless they put a D after their name. And I'm sick of it. So just come out and say what you really are. If you're against a public utility, then obviously you're not progressive. So that's it.
Sarah Amby.
And by the way, the encroachment of fascism, while we're screwing around pretending like everything is just normal, I'm looking around here and I'm not seeing people freaking out. Go to Batavia. There's a detention center there. And go check out what's happening in LA.
Your time is up.
They're stealing people off the streets.
Sarah Amby.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Ambe. I live in the 19th ward. So I spoke to council with council last time. You had this opportunity, and I thank you again for the chance to speak. Thank you. And what struck me is one of the ladies at the last speak to council said she had asked for a public utility in 1979. I was born in 1979. We've been asking for my entire lifetime. Has our private utility gotten better in that 45 years? No, it's gotten worse. The most recent audit shows that absent legitimate action from our elected officials, RG&E, NYSEG, and the other companies in this state are getting worse. They're treating people worse. They're abusing them more. If you look at the most recent audit by the New York State Public Services Commission, they've found violations with billing. They've found violations in meter readings. They found egregious lack of customer service. They found significant problems with gas safety. RG&E has not complied with the regulatory requirements for reporting response times to gas leaks and emergencies. We're talking like serious death that could occur, and they're fudging their numbers. In 2024, they had 3 times the number of shutoffs that they had compared to 2023. Please, 45 years, do it now.
The King, Arlen, or Arlene.
Good evening, Council. My name is King Arline. I am 20 years old and have been roughly a part of the Untrapped Ministries family for 2 years now. Being here The biggest aspect of this group is to be resourceful to our community and the ones who live in it. We're taught a numerous of different skills, ranging from how to simply depict if that leaf is poison ivy, to mediating, ultimately, life-threatening situations that has formed from or which can evolve to gun violence, which we know in Rochester is a big issue. We're taking the steps to better our city, making your jobs easier. Question is it too much to be repaid for our services? Frankly, we don't care for the egotistical match between our higher-ups and the city's higher-ups. Little guys just want our money. Thank you.
Elizabeth McGriff is followed by Lentori Johnson.
Just want to talk about promises. The City of Rochester, Mayor Evans, and Miguel Melendez promised TRAP Ministry, who's doing a good work in the community, funding. Now that funding is being withheld and putting the program at jeopardy. I think it's a good program. I had the opportunity to sit in with some of the young folks in that program. And I see lives change. I've seen attitudes change. I've seen people having their voices heard, and that's important. I know we've come to City Council to speak many times. $40,000 seems very small into what it's changing, into what they're doing, into teaching them how to have conversations, different conversations, rather than going to gun violence. $40,000 is so, it's just insignificant. Because the things that they're doing are changing people's lives. What is that? It's not a lot of money. It should be paid. It should be paid by the City of Rochester. They talk about the things I heard Clayton say. There was, I don't know, the paperwork process, the paperwork that stopped them from being paid. It's insignificant. They should be paid. City Council should help and support that make it to happen. The other thing I want to talk about is RG&E. We talk about people not being able to pay their bills and being capitalism. That's all I can say. It's capitalism.
Lentori Johnson is followed by Russell Kelly.
Good evening. My name is Lentori Johnson. I thank you, President Melendez, our esteemed council members, for holding this opportunity for the public to come before you. I'm gonna tell you, it's been a long time since I've been down here. I used to come with Reverend Stewart. But I'm shaken because we are living in a time right now that is something that most of us couldn't have seen coming. But always I say charity starts at home. That being said, let me be on the record as saying I am extremely disappointed to have people who look like me, who sat on a podium, who have not taken the opportunity to honor many of the leaders who have been part of our community who looks just like me. And hearing that there is such an issue, I don't know what it is, but please y'all get it taken care of. Reverend Franklin Florence deserves so much more than what was showed upon his legacy child who came here to speak for him. And to hear what he said, I don't believe that's a lie at all. People tell you one thing and do another. But I'm here tonight for RG&E. But I plan on coming back because I would be lying to say if I'm just disappointed. I was a state employee for 37 years. I came in during the time of Governor Rockefeller. I said that to say this. He always took pride in the fact that we were servants of the people and that he esteemed the work of public service. I'm very disappointed. I'm going to tell you this. RG&E was doable for me. I'm retired. I have to be on a budget. State did not do badly by me in my retirement benefits.
Ma'am, your time is up.
$275 I paid last year on a budget. I am paying $450 a month on a budget currently. That is outrageous. It's not sustainable. And you guys need to get up off of whatever you're doing. Take care of our citizens. We are a marginalized community. We have working poor.
Ma'am.
We have aged populations. And we also have children that we have to provide for. And y'all are not doing your job. And I plan on talking about it. And I hope some of you do not hold these chairs in the next upcoming election. Thank you so much. Primary them, y'all.
Russell Kelly is followed by Elizabeth Laidlaw.
I am Russell Kelly, and I've been here numerous times speaking about the housing and the C of O corruption. This is my dad's certificate for 15 years of service. The old landlord put boric acid in the heater ducts, silverware drawers. All while knowing my dad was on diabetes, dialysis, and I had a 4-month-old baby in the house. I reached out to every highly educated person that you could. I even called the general attorney's office. The lady there said, "Why don't I clean it up?" So I'm creating, in honor of my father, make the choice, be a voice. Because there's no reason anybody in this world that is uneducated shouldn't be making the choice, be a voice, considering that there's 90% of our own race, colors, and religions with good education and good credit running us into World War III and global warming for your own PIG, personal ignorance and greed. You guys don't do anything. The landlord that had that house had it for 20 years before we moved into it with a faulty C of O. He also had a permit made for a ramp for another handicapped person before we moved in there. And I did work all my life doing hard labor. And I challenge y'all all to go out, do some hard labor, go to a hospice home and figure out how it is. Because my dad was in a hospice position and I had to stand up to mostly all my family in that house too. And guess what? No one helped me. So I created words for we the people so that way we can stand up. Because frankly, y'all just bringing back the same damn history. And it's ignorance. You need to do better or resign. You already know I talked to you and your buddy Malik multiple times and been sitting in the COO office. You're a disgrace.
Your time is up. Elizabeth Laidlaw is followed by Stanley Exert.
President Melendez is a son. Okay. Vice President Harris, council members, thank you for your resilience this evening. My name's Elizabeth Laidlaw. I'm a 44-year resident of Rochester, RG&E payer. When my family moved 2 streets away in 2023, RG&E just couldn't manage to account for the payments I was sending them. RG&E took the money from my bank account and still sent me notices of late payments, month after month, culminating in a shut-off notice. It took 5 months, 2 trips to my bank, 3 trips to RG&E's office at Washington Square to get my payments correctly applied, none of which were late. 2 different RG&E customer service representatives trying to help me shrugged their shoulders and said, "This happens all the time." If I hadn't been retired and was able to spend 5 afternoons trying to figure out what's going on, I easily could have been one of the 13,000 customers who were shut off last year. I've heard the mayor state time and time again that he won't spend the money you allocated for the public utility study 2 years ago until the county does. Adam Bello isn't going to agree to the study because local Democrats are in RG&E's pocket. So it's on you. Those of you running for re-election and those of you who are not. This is about your legacy. Will your legacy be to continue to support Mayor Evans dragging his feet by defying the will of the public? Or will you direct the mayor to spend the money on the public utility study? What will your legacy be?
Stanley Exert is followed by Isaac Ward.
Hello. I'm a city resident, and I live in Rochester since May 1. Halake was the police chief. In social study, African American students worked out and dropped the historic book but anyway, in college, one of my college professors make how the future would be back in '84, and the majority of the country would be brown. We laugh with 19, 20-year-old, 18, we laugh at this. He made a prediction. It's a white male, a superior first-class white male, which is what the country want today. He made the prediction that we're gonna be brown. Germany had the same problem. And what they were doing, they were start making people, Germany was making people of the choice. On 1180, I listened on 1180, so I'm getting older. They claim that Australia, European Union, Argentina, my USA, my US of A, my mom bought me here as a kid, I love so much, and Canada are running low on superior first-class people. On 1180, I heard that. My RG&E bill was 100, go up to 150, then suddenly 200, then it was 500, then tried to call RG&E to negotiate 500, then I received a bill for well over $7,000. Please keep us safe in our city, please. African American come here to be safe. From Mississippi, Alabama, keep us safe, please. Please keep us safe.
Isaac Ward. Dr. Lisa Barr. Is followed by John Keevert. It's on.
I'm sorry. As my late father liked to say, it takes a big person to say I was wrong. I want to convince my fellow diabetics to change their mind, and here's my quest for that. It's not an irrelevant or ad hoc criticism to look at prior problematic chamber behavior to discredit their opposition to a study. Last week, Council candidate Kelly Cheadle held a Zoom meeting with the speakers showing that in 1970, the chamber moved its HQ from New York to DC to advocate for largely corporate at the expense of local business interests. The worst example since then I saw up close in the late 80s at the University of Florida, Chambergate, in which the Gainesville Sun published a transcript of a recording of the UF president promising the local chamber president the unthinkable, scheduling biology professors such that they would be teaching and unable to testify in the afternoon against real estate developments. There was a quest for money, such that before long the recharge area for the freshwater Florida aquifer was in fact paved over by the mid-90s. So the credibility of the chamber is problematic in general. Locally, they engaged in questionable speech suppression when this came before the county. RG&E PR people ensured the alleged union members bussed in had been wrongly scared that jobs would be lost to crowd the county legislators' seats upstairs in their T-shirts. Metro Justice speakers were escorted by armed sheriffs to the microphone like we were terrorists. It's a tactic used by the pro-fracking fossil fuel industry. Not enough they hijacked since the end of World War II our energy, transportation, and defense policy. Now they engage in speech suppression tactics like the frackers did. One other recent reason to have local control, the local dam. There should be no daylight between public safety and the control of that local dam. And one more thing, I'll be really brief. May 22nd on WXXI Connections, all members of council, you have to listen to the interview with Dr. Mishi Wenderlich and mayoral candidate Mary Lupian and follow your heart.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
John Keevert is followed by Albert Algarin.
I'm John Keevert. I'm speaking as chair of the Environmental Justice Ministry of First Unitarian Church of Rochester, located at 220 South Winton Road, proudly in the city of Rochester. I've been trying to monitor the electricity and gas usage monthly at my church to establish a baseline. 3 years ago, there were periods of several months with no RG&E readings and very inaccurate estimated bills. Although somewhat better now, there are still skipped months of readings and even skipped months of billings, with the next bill twice as expensive. After reading the recent Public Service Commission auditor's report, it seems that many of the important decisions are made at the level of Avangrid, not RG&E or the NYSEG subsidiary. In the report, the auditor found that Avangrid does not have appropriate controls for customer service outsourcing or contract management. The auditor also found that the company's customer service reports have been inaccurate and recommends that Avangrid enhance quality control. The audit confirmed prolonged estimates of estimated reading. According to the auditor, all performance management activities occur at the Avangrid level. Avangrid does not develop operational plans to achieve goals related to NYSEG or RG&E. Incentive payouts for executives are not based on attaining goals specific to RG&E. RG&E touts that they have been serving Rochester since 1848, but the audit indicates that the current company is but a hollow shell that is operated by and for the benefit of Avangrid, not Rochester. Since the auditor makes 128 recommendations to improve operations and customer experiences, clearly a public utility run by a local board could give better service and cheaper rates. I encourage the council to spend the money to stop Avangrid from siphoning $100 million a year out of our area. Spend the $500,000 to study to replace RG&E. Thank you.
Albert Algarin is followed by Kevin Lockhart.
Well, I did have an agenda for tonight, but I'm going to put it away. Feel the pain of what's going on in this room. I know what you're going through. We have a common that is killing you with bills that you can't afford. Because they're the only players in town. And they got you. But city council, these are your taxpayers. Each one of you make $37,000 a year. City council elected, you make $47,000. It could be fair and justly to these little people. That's why I'm out tonight.
I received the active WXXI broadcasting contract for City Council, which states the consultant WXXI shall perform in a professional manner the services for broadcasting regular City Council meetings, council committee meetings, and 2-day full budget hearings. We have the interpreter, we have the cameras, we're not having any broadcasting here according to the contract. All I'm asking is that WXXI fulfill the contract that they signed with the mayor to broadcast these regular meetings. You're suppressing these people because you don't want them to get any promo, you don't want them to be heard. You don't want them filming because they're going to you're going to be helping promote their topics and speeches. To be honest, Rochester was doomed since day one, having only 9 elected seats for 9 separate towns and villages in Rochester. These people have no chance while you all stand in the way. And by the way, Reddit conducted a survey to Rochester residents, a large survey, and each of you were all declared the biggest villains in Rochester. Can you believe that? I think a couple of reasons, obvious ones, why you're vilified. 1 year ago, the city issued an RFP in regard to selling the city school district building, School 25. And who gets the RFP? Ibero and Ibero Development Corporation, that City Council President Miguel Melendez and City Planning Board Commissioner Eugenio Marlin work as executives. This presents a conflict of interest in the contracting under General Municipal Law 800. It states, an officer or employee of a municipality may not have an interest, direct or indirect, in any contract with the municipality. BJ Scanlon, the legislative analyst, has his hands all over these contracts, and it's getting a little muddy. Should this matter advance without pause? That's the language. I reserve the right, these people in this case, would reserve the right to seek judicial intervention under CPLR Statute 7803 or Article 78 of the Civil Practice Law to file for an injunction and appeal to the Supreme Court to stop this sale of the obviously conflicted interest involved in the RFP.
Your time is up,
for School
Kevin.
25. And
Your time is up.
You guys have to recuse. I'm not articulate. You have to give me extra time because I'm a little slow. These folks who work in the city, they have to recuse themselves. They have to abstain from the votes when the vote comes around for the RFP. You have to abstain, and you have to tell us your conflicts of interest, and so on and so forth. Thanks.
Lori Fenby. Janae Lawson is followed by Edwin Rodriguez.
Good evening, Council. My name is Janae Lawson. I'm a 20-year-old resident of Rochester, New York. I'm here to address a current financial crisis I am now experiencing. I am owed thousands of dollars. I have been working with Untrapped Ministries for a while now, and I have worked for this money and delivered from my end of the contract. I think it's time for the city to reciprocate their end of the contract. We have been conversing with the city, fighting for what's ours. I do not understand where all the random legalities came from now when we've been fighting this issue for months. The city repeatedly goes back on their words, saying one thing, then saying another. With the money being delayed is causing personal struggles in my day-to-day life. I don't believe this crossfire between the city and the fiduciary should cause me and my group to be collateral damage. I'm only 20 years old, trying to find my way in life, trying to pay bills and figure out my way in this new world. So I'm hoping after this current meeting, we are actually heard and not just looked over, and finally can get some help that we deserve. Thank you.
Edwin Rodriguez is followed by Brian Booth.
My name is Edwin Rodriguez. I'm here as a member of Rochester Grants Pass Resistance and Democratic Socialists of America. I want to invite you and everyone here to a Housing Not Handcuffs rally hosted by Grants Pass Resistance in Vogel, New York. It's happening tomorrow at 6 p.m. in Washington Square Park. This month marks the 1-year anniversary of Grants Pass v. Johnson Supreme Court decision. Come out to learn more of the consequences of this ruling and how Rochester can and must do better for our unhoused neighbors. This world is full of injustices. One that our community is facing right now is the way that immigrants like myself are being. We're asking you to take.
Brian Booth. Brian is followed by Jacqueline Van Arnold.
Hello, I'm speaking on behalf of Brian Booth and Untrapped Ministries. My name is Janiyah Williams.
Oh, you can't speak on behalf of Brian. Is he here?
To sign up. Yeah, he's right there. He's right there.
Oh, he needs to come up.
I just want to say I think it's kind of funny how our our city wants to always spread a lot of awareness for change and a lot of.
Is he not able to speak, or?
He does not want to speak.
Okay, but so you can't speak because you're not signed up.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
It's the same exact message. It's from the same group of people that have been coming up and saying something about our program. If he's right here, he's present. I'm just speaking. But I just want to say, Untrapped Ministries has done a lot for me, and I plan on, or hoping that you guys will say something about the legalities and talk about the fact that our contract was terminated, or it proceeds to be terminated because of the city's constant supposed reassurance, and the fact that we have had multiple people in charge of our funding, and they constantly tell us they're going to look into the paperwork, but they haven't. And we actually had someone last year steal about $15,000 from us, and she just left. Nothing else has happened, but yet and still we continue to be just used. So that's all I wanted to say, but have a great day.
Jacqueline Van Arnold. George Van Arnold. Steve Cognio. Ishmael Walker. No. James Bearden.
Hello, I'm James Bearden. I live at 77 Pavilion Street in the southeast quadrant, and I'm here today representing Rochester Third Act Elders. Third Act is a national organization. We're a local chapter. They're people 60 years of age and older who want to use our experience and our power to assist younger people who are able to be more active than us. And this seems an issue that is particularly important to us. That is the issue of public power and a feasibility study. Rochester Gas and Electric has for decades put profit before community interest and welfare. Many in the area are fed up with RG&E, as you so well know. I don't have to tell you, you've been told many times before. Some of us in Third Act elders began opposition to RG&E in the 1970s with the Genesee Valley People's Power Coalition. A few dozen local residents and organizations formed the Genesee Valley People's Power Coalition to oppose RG&E's proposed rate hikes in 1974. With leaders like Robert Slaughter in 1975, they managed to get the Public Service Commission to force smaller rates of increase, a small victory. However, this battle over rates is never ending, and there's always something with RG&E. It's only one aspect of their actions. In 1980, Genesee Valley People's Power Coalition began to advocate for a feasibility study. Sound familiar? A feasibility study for a true public utility. You can find the letter doing this in the Democratic Chronicle from Debbie Chappett and Fran Weisberg in October of 1980. Today, I believe, oh dear, am I the last speaker? Will you give me a couple more seconds here? We believe that a public utility company would serve the community much better than RG&E. It would provide more and better jobs for people living in Rochester, better service, lower energy costs, and community-first policies. We urge Rochester City Council to put aside political differences and fund the preliminary study. Let's find out if we can all work together to improve the lives of our community. Thank you.
Amy D'Amico. Zanetta Green. Maggie Kane. Oscar Brewer. Lorraine Parr. Matt Siddell. Michael Lohr. Esther Rivkin. And Jacqueline Van Arnold, George Van Arnold.
All right. Well, that concludes our Speak to Council for tonight. The regular City Council meeting will be held on Tuesday, June 17th, here in Council Chambers at 6 p.m. Have a good night, everyone.